What's up YouTube? It's Samara, and if you are new to this channel, welcome to the channel where you get Samara That World. Today I'm going to do a more personal video with you guys. This is kind of going to be like personal development meets travel, and if you guys once again are looking for travel advice, I've said this in my previous videos, but I do have a blog specifically catered to travel advice, so if you're wanting that, go check out my other videos. There's stuff on travel advice there as well as on my blog. But like I had told you guys in a previous video, I want to be able to have a more personal relationship with you guys on YouTube, so sometimes I'm just going to talk about my experiences traveling. It's not always going to be advice related. So if you are someone who's interested in traveling long term and it sounds interesting to you and you're just trying to get the experiences of other long-term travelers, then stick around because this video is for you. I am going to be talking about the life lessons I learned from traveling long term, and this will be a multiple part series. So today we are going to talk about the top 3 things that I learned from traveling long term. And as always, you guys, if you like it, give it a thumbs up, comment below, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, you guys, so I'm gonna keep it really real with you guys. I remember when I first started traveling, people were asking me why I was doing this. Like, people were confused as to why I wanted to travel the world. And I'll be honest with you guys. I mean, yes, there was a part of me that obviously wanted to see the world, but there was another part of me that really felt like I had to do this. Like, there was something inside of me, my intuition saying that I need to do this because I had been kind of on a personal development journey for a while, and there were like aspects of myself that I was trying to improve, and there were just certain things that were like not fully like clicked in, not fully into place. Like, there were aspects of me that really still needed to develop, and I just had this feeling like I have to travel the world, I have to do this alone. It's going to end up being good for my personal growth. And so that was a large portion or a large reason why I decided to go travel long term, because I felt like I had to do it and that it was ultimately going to develop me as a person. So when I went and traveled for 9.5 months on my own, I did learn a lot. There were a lot of lessons I learned, and my views on myself and the world are quite different now because of that. So yeah, I just want to be able to be real with you guys about what those things are, because maybe you need to experience something similar to kind of come to the same conclusions, or maybe it's just interesting for you to have your own personal growth journey, because really for me this was a journey of personal growth aside from just seeing the world. So the first lesson that I learned is how to be extremely independent, and this was something that I absolutely needed for my personal growth, because I was actually someone who was quite codependent, and that would manifest itself in various aspects of my life in not great ways. And so part of that I remember was that I'm pretty extroverted. I do need to be around people to kind of gain energy. But I remember like I would talk to my friend and I would tell her like, yeah, it just sucks because I feel like because I'm extroverted, I need to like always be around people, even if those people are toxic or they're not really that great of people, or they're not actually good to hang around. They're not gonna benefit my life. If anything, they might hurt me in some way. And because I was forced to be alone for so long, I had to develop a sense of independence that I had never had before. I learned how to be happy within myself, 100% happy within myself, because there were many moments that I was super lonely, you guys. Even though, yes, you can meet people in hostels, you're constantly saying bye to these people. You might meet them for a few days, and if you're lucky, you'll meet them for a few weeks, and eventually you have to say bye to all of these people. So you kind of develop like a certain emotional resilience amidst all of that, being able to just connect with people in the moment and then say your goodbyes and still be okay. And even though I was meeting people, that really doesn't take away from the times in which I was alone and, like I said, lonely, because if you're not developing these really deep relationships with people, or you're just having like these moments of interaction, yes, they're really great in the moment, but over time you start to feel like I need that connection with people longer term. And of course you do need that as a human, right? But I needed to be able to disconnect from that reality, because like I said, for me, hanging out with people was almost like a necessity. It wasn't even like I was choosing actively who was in my life, and I was just kind of like taking whoever would come my way because of that extroverted side of me. So because I became so independent and I learned how to be happy alone and on my own, I realized like I don't actually need to keep anyone in my life. Like, yes, as humans, we need social interaction, of course, but like I'm saying, I don't need specific people. Like, I can choose who I want to keep in my life, life, if someone is actually someone I care about and I feel like they are someone with good values and we have things in common, then of course I'm going to actively want to keep that person in my life. But there's a very big difference between wanting someone to be in your life and needing them to be in your life, because that need is coming from a place of lack. It's like, I need this person to fill this void in my life. And so traveling long term essentially helped me fill those voids so that I don't feel that way anymore. I don't feel like I need to keep anyone in my life specifically. Like, I have people that I care about, of course, but if someone is not really up to par with the kind of person I'd want to hang around, then I'm probably not going to keep them in my life. And I really couldn't say that before. And it's something that has completely changed my life, because now I have more control over how I spend my time, who I spend my time with, and just like the quality of people in my circle. My circle has gotten smaller, but because of that, like, I don't feel the need to have like tons of acquaintances that don't even care about me. I would rather just really focus my time on the core people in my life that I really care about and that I know care about me. And yeah, that basically just came from that level of independence that, like I said, I have, and that I'm able to create my own happiness and be happy within myself. That is something that if you go and travel long term, you may find will happen for you. The second thing I learned is who I am. And I know that sounds very philosophical and very eat, pray, love-ish, but honestly, this journey I went on, it was in a way almost like eat, pray, love, except for I didn't end up with anyone. Obviously, at the end of that movie, she ends up with a guy. But you know, that love aspect for me was about self-love. That journey, like, I didn't have to end up with anyone. Like, for me, self-love was a part of that journey, but that's another lesson that I'll go into in more depth later. But I feel like I learned who I am, because before that, I don't even really know if I knew who I was, because I think that when you live in a society and you live in like a certain bubble, you're not even really aware of all of the things that are constantly influencing you in terms of your society, in terms of culture, in terms of just like things like, oh, you know, I need to behave this way because if I don't behave this way, I'm gonna see this person again and it's gonna be weird. So I have to chameleonize myself in order to fit in with society. So all these things that you think subconsciously that affect your personality, well, when you're traveling long term, you don't have all that, because number one, you're not living in the society that you're used to. So obviously for 9.5 months, I was not living in the US. So I didn't have US culture influencing me in the way that it typically does. And aside from that, I was moving from place to place. So if you think about it, when you're moving from place to place, you are only meeting people for a very short time and then they leave, right? So there's no consequence for this person not liking you. Like, you will never see them again. So it puts you in a position to be fully and authentically yourself, because you can just put yourself out there, and if they don't like you, it's like, oh, well, I'm never gonna see this person again, and in a few days I'll meet some other people that I can hang out with. So because I had those experiences of constantly being myself in those 9.5 months that I traveled, I learned who I am, right? Like, because I was able to authentically be myself 24/7. I never had to worry about like, oh, if I do this and that, like this person is going to think I'm weird or whatever it is. If they didn't like me, it wasn't a big deal. And so through that, I kind of just learned how to not care what people think, because it's like about forming a habit, right? You form this habit of being yourself 24/7, and you form this habit of not caring what people think because you know, like, it doesn't matter. And so that actually stays with you. So now that I'm like back home, I feel like I'm a lot more able to just like be myself. Like, whatever weird things or quirky things there are about me, like, I don't have a problem hiding that anymore. You know, there's a lot of things that I felt very insecure about before I left to go travel, and now I'm just like, yeah, this is a part of me, like, either take it or leave it. So yeah, I mean, it just kind of helped me figure out who I am and like be more self-assured. Lesson number 3 is having to do with what I was just saying, which is you're not going to be a part of society anymore when you're traveling long term. You're constantly moving from place to place, so you start to really question what society is dictating and how society is really influencing you. Because like I said, when you're so far removed from that, you start to really question, like, is this thought really my own, or is it just because society is telling me to do that? So I remember I was in Israel, and this was towards the beginning of my journey, and I had met this guy who was basically doing what I'm doing, or what I was planning to do, but he was a little bit further along in his journey. And I kind of asked him, like, you know, what made you want to do all this? And he said, honestly, I was engaged and I was with that woman for years, and he said to me that he found out that she cheated on him with his best friend. And I was like, wow, that sucks. So he basically decided to go travel because his idea of what he wanted to do with his life was completely altered. So he was like, I'm gonna go travel and do what I've been wanting to do, you know, since I've been stuck in this relationship for so long and she cheated on me. And I remember asking him, hey, you know, like, do you feel like time is kind of ticking? Because he was 28 and obviously he was planning to get married and that didn't work out. So I was like, do you ever feel like time is ticking and like you need to get married soon? Or like, are you kind of concerned that you're like starting this whole journey later in life? And he was just like, no, because as I've traveled, I've started to realize that some of the things we think we want, we need to question if that's like actually what we want or if we just think we want that because that's what everyone else is doing and because that's what society has told us makes us happy. Because he told me, I've been doing this now for a few months and I'm having a blast. Like, I absolutely love my life right now. And I was on that track. I was on that track to get married and it didn't work out. And he's like, and that made me realize like life doesn't always pan out the way that you want it to. So he's like, why would I put that pressure on myself? Like, I was already there and it didn't work out because of, you know, life. And so he told me like, I'm having a great time right now and I don't feel this need to like get married simply because everyone else is doing that. And I remember like in that moment thinking like, interesting, because I'm 26 now. So I was 25 when I started doing all of this. And, oh, actually I was 24, my bad. I was 24 when I started doing all of this and I was about to be 25 though. So when I met him, I was 25. And I remember just thinking like, there were points where I was like, maybe I'm doing this too late in life. Like maybe I shouldn't be doing this because by the time I get back to the US, I'll be 26 and like, maybe I need to like focus on like settling down or like meeting someone that I can settle down with. And so, you know, all those thoughts were going through my head, but I was like, I'm not gonna give up my dream like to settle down right now, sorry, but you know, but when he told me all that, I was kind of like, interesting, like to see someone else's perspective on this, but I hadn't like fully internalized it until I started to actually go and travel. And yeah, I mean, now I get what he means because after like 9.5 months of traveling and having a blast, like I'm not kidding, like that was like the time of my life. Like I had such a great time. I was enjoying my time so much in Southeast Asia. And obviously I was alone, I'm single. It wasn't like I was here like, oh my God, like I need to like find someone to marry. Like I just never had those thoughts. So I'm like, he's right. Like, why am I putting that pressure upon myself? Or why do any of us put that pressure upon ourselves when we're not really being authentic to ourselves? Like, do I really want that? Or am I just wanting that because people are saying I need that to be happy? Because if I'm being completely honest with you, I'm perfectly happy right now in that moment, right? Like when I was traveling, I was perfectly happy. I didn't feel like I needed anything else. So it was like, there's no need to get married. And I'm not saying that like you guys shouldn't get married. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying like that shouldn't be because of pressure from society. If you meet someone organically that you really love and like it just organically and naturally happens and it goes there, then great. But I just meet so many people who are like, I need to get married because time's ticking and I'm getting older. And I'm just like, yeah, I honestly just don't feel that way anymore. I don't feel that like pressure. And so yeah, I think that's been like a good lesson for me is just like, you can enjoy life being on your own, being single, which I mean, yeah, I have been. But yeah, I mean, like I just started to really question like, what is actually my beliefs and what is society's? And I think that's another lesson that you learn when you're traveling is where are your thoughts coming from? Are they coming from you or are they coming from society? And if you go travel, you may have other epiphanies or revelations about what society has taught you that are gonna be different than my revelations, but still that revelation may occur, which is that you'll realize that a lot of what you think is influenced by, once again, the society and the culture that you're raised in. Anyways, you guys, that is it for this video. Like I said, I'm going to do this in multiple parts. And as always, like the video, comment below your thoughts, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.